and welcome back to Board Game Breakfast episode 101. This episode is sponsored by Alexander Goebel, who asked me to say something in German, and I can't. But I can say what it was translated, and that's my greetings to the board gaming unity at Minden, Lübeck. There's that. Thank you for supporting us on Kickstarter. And there's lots of things coming up. Today I'll be doing a question and answer. I'll be doing it earlier rather than later. So if you catch this early enough, you'll see I'm doing it at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Christmas is coming, and in the vein of Christmas, this week we will be posting one a day for the starting tomorrow and going through the rest of the week, our Christmas shopping guides. Even though it's only November, now is the time to start buying this stuff, and so we have that there for you. Will be coming. And Board Game Geek Con is only a couple weeks away, so if you're going to be there, hopefully we'll see some of you there and we'll have a chance to say hello. But enough of that nonsense, let's get to the news. First of all, Fantasy Flight has told us some more stuff about Under the Pyramids. This is an upcoming expansion for Eldritch Horror. This one has to do with, shockingly, Egypt and the pharaohs and the mythology that's based there. There's a new app for use with Dead of Winters. The Crossroad deck in Dead of Winters, I've known about this for a while, it's exciting to me, is replaced with an app, and so you just basically get a random card that is then read. You basically say it goes off if it does, and then this card is read to you, and the reader of the cards is my co-host on the Dice Tower, Eric Summer, so you know he has a great voice. It tells you the different things, gives you your options, and then you pick the option without knowing what will happen. Then it tells you what happens. And I think that's a pretty cool idea, and it allows them to add in more cards as time goes by. There's a couple board game trailers. I don't really tell much about the board game. They're more like to get you excited about some of the games that came out at Essen, the Raptor game, and the expansion for Abyss. Fireside Games has announced a Here Kitty Kitty game in which the goal of this game is to collect lots of cats. That sounds fun. It's probably a good game. And Ghostbusters from Cryptozoic. This is one of two Ghostbuster games. I think the other one's coming from IDW. That's coming out November 11th, so not too far away. Tasty Mincer Games has shown off the new artwork for the reprint they're doing of Colosseum, a great game. Although this artwork has certainly brought a storm of controversy. A lot of people really do not like the artwork, don't feel it meets the game. We'll see what happens. The Kickstarter for this has been pushed into next year anyhow. Hey, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Hey, we have a question today. It says, does a Euro game, this is from Alex, need to be set in Europe to have any chance at success? He says he's designing board games, and he has a prototype, and he's making this, and every time people say you should change the theme. His games are Euro in style, but he uses his theme as Native Americans. And some people said that if he wants a game published, he should change it to be Antiquity or Renaissance Europe, because that theme will resonate more with the Euro game audience. I've had a few people flat out tell me the game likely wouldn't sell in Europe at all because of the theme. Isn't something they can relate to.
Well, it's funny, Native Americans. I know what Tom's going to say. He's going to say that he hates trading in the Mediterranean.
No. I mean, this whole thing people can't relate to.
No.
Who can relate to the Renaissance? No one lived in the Renaissance. You can't say you relate to that. That's nonsense.
Yeah, but you understand the coolness of the Renaissance and how they were making new, exciting things during the Renaissance time. But of course, Native Americans, it's weird Native Americans is an example because Lewis and Clark is a Euro game with a Native American theme.
Yeah, you're getting bad advice. I think 15 years ago, this may have been better advice. Do you remember when they would say you can't sell a game in Europe?
Okay.
There was that time frame and such, or you couldn't make a fantasy game. But that time is over now. I mean, I'm just looking over here at my shelf, some of the games that came out of Essen. We have Simurg from NSCAN, a very popular game that is a fantasy setting. We have Exoplanets, which was a space setting. He mentioned Lewis and Clark last year. Time Stories, Pandemic.
One of the most popular Euro worker placements is Lords of Waterdeep, and that's clear Dungeons and Dragons theme.
Yeah, the old Renaissance thing, besides the fact that I'm personally sick of it, isn't really that out there. When we just went to Essen, where we saw 800 games, and we've gotten a lot of them coming this way, and only a couple of them among nobles.
Yeah.
And Really? Like all the other big games are set all over the place.
Yeah, I mean...
504 is set in like this weird alternate future type thing with different worlds.
Yeah, it's something that Uwe Rosenberg was telling me. He said that he likes to do games with his kind of theme. So his theme is about the people doing farming and things. So your theme doesn't need to be set in medieval European times in the 12th to 13th, 14th century for it to be a good theme.
And honestly, don't listen to what people tell you. Listen to what publishers tell you, because they know what will sell. Anyhow, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Send us questions at dicetower@gmail.com.
Greetings, blessed friends, Dice Tower Nation. We are deep into our deep dive of the 2015 People's Choice Dice Tower Top 100 Games of All Time. Last week we talked about the cult of the new, and if it threatens to abduct us like some kind of carpet cleaning cult.
Listen, you've been abducted.
This week, I want to dive yet more deeply into the subject of a few games that surprised us with how well they did this year. Particularly, I want to talk about Jaipur, a magnificent two-player set collection game, Stone Age, a mostly themeless worker placement game, Takinoko, an awesome game with pandas, and Tokaido, a very thematic linear worker placement game. All four of these games saw huge jumps this year. Jaipur went from 76 last year to 32. Stone Age catapulted from 51 to 25. Takinoko leapfrogged from 43 to 19. And Tokaido is on the board for the first time at 67. But why? What do these four games have in common? Well, they are four of the most popular games on Board Game Arena. One of the best places, if not the best place, to play board games online. It features an amazing interface that captures the feel of playing these games in real life. All four of these games I mentioned are among my favorite on the site. We may talk about these games not hitting the table, but a lot of games are still being played online. We may not see them, but there's still a great digital presence for many games, and that's definitely the case for these four. So going forward, I think we need to add the Board Game Arena effect to the list of effects that influence the popularity of a game one way or the other. I suspect that Colt Express, which recently has had a very good implementation on Board Game Arena, will continue to climb in popularity. This year it was 78. I predict next year it'll be much higher. My prediction right now, it will crack the top 50. Yes, it will. What games do you play online? Put them in the comment section below, and we'll see you again next week.
Hey everybody, Steve here, and here's your AFR 2-minute drill. So first off, I wanted to say congratulations to Tom and everyone at the Dice Tower for reaching episode 100 of the Board Game Breakfast. And in the spirit of reaching that milestone, I thought today I would talk about Legacy. So with the pandemic, Legacy game breaking all kinds of records and everyone really enjoying that system, I thought I would quickly discuss my thoughts on how sports board games have always had a built-in legacy system when you do a season playthrough. So every time you play out a season in a game, you're going to inherently have a unique outcome different from everybody else's playthrough, based on who you start, who you sit, what players get injured, and who gets the lucky breaks of the roll of the dice throughout the season. One of my favorite memories of playing through a season actually came from a fictional set, and it was the last game of a season, and this player who is at the end of his career, he used to be known as a home run slugger, but now he's batting in the low 200s. His team's mired in last place. Last game of the season, really nothing to play for except for pride, and he hits a game-winning grand slam. So that's my favorite memory, and I'd like to ask everybody, what's your favorite memory of playing any kind of game with a legacy system? Whether it's a traditional role-playing game or one of the new legacy board games. Please leave your comments below, and we'll look forward to hearing from you. Until then, guys, get out there, have fun, play games, and I'll see you next time after further review.
coming from the Dice Tower this week. I already mentioned that we have the Christmas videos will be coming out where we tell you the shopping list for Christmas in 5 different categories, which I believe are stocking stuffers, strategic, thematic games, party games, and family games. We also have lots of reviews coming for you, of course, as normal. I'm going to be talking about the expansion for Orleans, MULE, Automania, Taverna, Antarctica, Balanced Duels, Giraffe Game, Rings Up. So there's a lot of cool games that we'll be talking about. And of course, Sam and Z and some of our other contributors will be bringing you some reviews this week. So you have all that to look forward to. So don't forget, of course, about the Dice Tower podcast and the other shows in the Dice Tower network. You can see all of them at dicetower.com.
Oh, hello. Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here, and you caught me just as I was pretending to look at my copy of Lords of Waterdeep so I'd have an excuse and a nice transition to talk about it today. Truth be told, I've actually been standing here holding this box for about 20 minutes now, waiting for you to arrive, which I think demonstrates a basic misunderstanding of how YouTube works. But you're here now, so let's not waste any more time. Lords of Waterdeep. I actually haven't played this game in years. So why'd I pull it off the shelf to talk about it today? Because Lords of Waterdeep is my Good Charlotte game. Perhaps I should explain. Good Charlotte is a band from the late 90s, known for such Billboard favorites as Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, Girls and Boys, and Little Things. Kids love them, and so did I. In fact, after I discovered their unique blend of alternative rock and complaining, there was a period of time that I'd listen to them nearly every single day, whatever I was doing, driving, chores, listening to other music. They were always in my playlist. And then, the strangest thing happened. One day, click, I just wasn't in the mood to listen to them anymore. Just as quick and simple as that. Heck, it's been nearly a decade now, and not only have I not listened to them, but haven't really missed them either. And you know, I've never had another experience like that until Lords of Waterdeep. I used to play this game all the time, and then one day, click, I was just done. There's no story of a nightmarish gameplay experience. I didn't play it till I was sick of it. I'd even play it again if someone wanted to, but I wouldn't even mind if I never played it again. Because while I still appreciate the game, one day I was just done with it. Just like that. And that's why this game, Lords of Waterdeep, is my Good Charlotte board game. Now, has this type of thing ever happened to anyone else out there? Do you have a game that you enjoyed, played it consistently, but then just one day, click, you were just done with it? If so, did you keep that game in your collection? And more importantly, am I the only one willing to admit that they listened to Good Charlotte?
My name is Nick from Board Game Brawl, and I reviewed 7 games over on my channel last week, so I gotta make this quick. Moon Gone Invaders is from Tree Frog Games and Martin Wallace. This is a very interesting concept of monsters smashing a city and getting points through area control Euro-style elements. Plays completely differently with 2 players or with more, and I think it's a fun game in some elements, but it does have some rough edges, and the miniatures could use a lot of work. Then I reviewed Above and Below from Ryan Lockhart and Red Raven Games. This is a fantastic thematic Euro game with beautiful artwork and aesthetics, and I love the concept of the encounter book that comes with it, so definitely give that one a look. I finally reviewed Dixit, which is one of the best games, honestly, I've ever played, and it is definitely been a hit in my group for all the years that I've had it. The newest expansion, Dixit Memories, has some of the best artwork I've ever seen in the game, and that's really saying something, so check that one out too. I reviewed Treasure Hunter from Richard Garfield and Queen Games. This is actually much later than you would suspect. It's a card drafting game of trying to use adventurers to get different types of treasure, but there are some interesting twists to it that really promoted it above other types of card drafting games, and I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed this one. I reviewed the Ambition expansion for Roll for the Galaxy. Roll for the Galaxy in and of itself, fantastic game. I don't even know why people even acknowledge that Race for the Galaxy exists anymore. And the Ambition expansion for Roll doesn't change anything fundamentally about the game. It won't change anyone's mind, but it adds a lot of interesting things to the mix and just more for people to love, so I definitely approve of it. And finally, the big bomb of the week is Fury of Dracula 3rd Edition. Much like what I was just saying, this is not going to change anyone's opinion of the game if you loved or hated the previous edition, but this one streamlines things, it refines some of the elements a little bit, adds a couple of small tweaks that I think improve the game, and it sort of balances out the power level between Dracula and the Hunters. It's not quite so easy for Dracula to just stomp down the Hunters. So overall, I highly approve. Definitely a fantastic game made even better. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.
Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Week in Review. This week I was able to take a look at this game right here, Bang the Duel. It's a little 2-player implementation of the Bang the card game. Pretty cool for 2 players. I still prefer Bang the Dice game. I was also able to take a look at this classic, Catan Geographies Germany, and still... it's pretty pricey on the market right now, but if you can find yourself a copy at a good price, well worth your time. Quantum, really cool dice rolling area control game where you are trying to get your quantum cubes built on the different planets on the board before your opponents do. And then another video I was able to do this week is Battling Brushes. It's the 3rd for this month, where Rob Oren and I are painting Imperial Assault, and so we're going to auction that off for the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund auction. So go ahead and check out that new episode as well. Next week is going to be our Battle Royale, so hang on for information about that. See you next time.
Hey everybody, sort of a Viking themed week this week. First up is Blood Rage. Awesome game, awesome in all player counts, very dynamic strategy, cool card drafting, awesome area control, lots to consider, very in your face, very interactive, great game. The next one is Champions of Midgard. This is a little bit more narrative of the game, so there's a little bit more story, actually a little bit more theme in this game. It's a lot like Lords of Waterdeep, but with dice rolling for combat. But it's actually a lot economically, so to speak, tighter than Lords of Waterdeep, which was very interesting. So definitely check out both games. Loved them both.
Hey, breakfast people. Last week I reviewed 2 games. I reviewed Broom Service. Broom Service is an evolution of a previous game called Witch's Brew. And in this one, you are witches and you are delivering potions to several castles on this map. Has a nice amount of push your luck. And it's a very good-looking game. I recommend it for families that are into games already and want something a little bit more in-depth. And I also reviewed Daxu, or Dashu, if you want to pronounce it that way. And in this one, it's a 2-player game, and in it you are trying to have the best market and have more goods than your opponent. It's a very interesting 2-player card game. I'm a really big fan of it. I thought it was a wonderful, wonderful design. So there you have it. I also did a video in which I compared Broom Service to its predecessor, Witch's Brew, so check that one out as well. It's not really a review, but take a look at that. And that's it for me. See you next time.
Hello there, YouTube. I'm Force Bowers Gameporter. This is my weekend review. The first game I checked out was Alien Frontiers. This is a delightful dice allocation area control game in which you're going to be building spaceships, aka dice, and then placing them onto the board. Now, this game does a fantastic job of mitigating low dice rolls and has some really cool special abilities. I like it a lot. The only real con I have is the restrictive 2 to 4 player count. Next, I checked out Phase 10, the over 30-year-old card game, which I think has aged pretty well, and which you're going to be trying to collect sets and runs of various different numbers. It's got skips and wilds and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty simple. If you play with a lot of non-gamers, they're going to like this. They're going to enjoy this. If you don't, you're going to want to steer clear of this. Last but not least, I checked out Accentuate. This is a team-based party game game in which you are going to be reading off quotes to your teammates in various different accents dictated by the game. If your team can guess what accent you're utilizing, you're going to gain points. Unfortunately, the quotes are completely bland. They really could have used some good humor in there, and also there's some accents that sound a lot alike, which is a little bit annoying. However, it actually adds to the humor of the game, in my opinion. Some people are going to love it, some people are really going to hate it. That's been my week in review. If you enjoy magic...
Hello my friends, the Gameboy Geek here. Last week I reviewed Burger Boss. Think worker placement dice rolling game like Alien Frontiers, but with a theme families can get with, stripping out all of the harder components. Very easy, streamlined version of Alien Frontiers, but in a food way. Celestia is a good press your luck game that's a reprint of an older game called Cloud 9. I liked it. It's very streamlined, very little downtime, not as many highs and low peaks and valleys as some other press your lucks, but the lack of the downtime was its strongest suit. Dark Stories is a mystery game where you cooperatively are asking questions to try to find the murder or what happened. And I did a live sort of in the review, doing this on a road trip. Really cool experience that game is. Dixit Memories is the latest expansion for the popular party game called Dixit. It's my favorite expansion for this because it's bright, crisp, clear digital artwork with really cool images, my favorite one yet. Unusual Suspects is an excellent cooperative game where you're trying to narrow down the murder. Think of Mysterium, Codenames, and Deception Murder Hong Kong. Similar mechanisms as to one person gives clues. Awesome game. And my last one is Mysterium. I finally got around to reviewing the USA, the Asmodee version, and I really like this. There's parts of it I didn't like as much as the old version. Some of it I liked more. It was about the same at the end, but I really love this game. It's one of my favorite cooperative games. That's it for last week.
So for me this week, we take a look at Far Space Foundry. That was it's a heavy Euro game in which you're basically moving goods from here to here, then here to here, then here to here, then here to here. Some will like it. I hated it. Sapiens. This looks like a cutesy version of Dominoes. It's not. It's actually heavy and mean and kind of nasty towards each other, but at the same time, I didn't feel like the strategy was there that I would like to see in a game. Top Face is a game in which you make crazy faces, and other people try to guess them. Great for families and kids. Justice League Action Dice is a cooperative or solo game. You can buy like the Batman box or the Superman box, combine them to do things. An excellent little cooperative game. I thought it brought something new to the table. Dice City is a game in which you are allocating dice to different buildings and then getting resources so that you can build better buildings that you put on the board and then allocate dice to those. An interesting take. If you like Kingsburg, you'll probably like it. Roll Through the Ages Ambition. This is a game, and this is an expansion for Roll Through the Ages, which is, I love that original game. And this adds more tiles and gold tiles. It's good, not great, but, you know, more Roll for the Galaxy is not a bad thing. Death Star Perplexes. This is a toy, essentially, where you're trying to maneuver a ball through a maze. They added the Star Wars theme to it and did a good job, I thought. Thunderbirds. This is from Modifius. If you like that TV show, you'll really enjoy this cooperative game. Even if you don't, it's by Matt Leacock, who did Pandemic, a solid game going around the world and solving problems. The Big Book of Madness, another cooperative game, a lot of those this week, in which you have opened a book that you're not supposed to open. You've read it. Now monsters are coming out and you need to stop them and shut the book. The Pursuit of Happiness. If you thought life was a cool idea, the game of life, but you wanted it to be a good game, that's what this is. It's the Euro game version of life, where you try to do different goals and then have a job and a wife or a husband or what have you, or none of those, and just go out and be the leader of the Boy Scouts, whatever. You can do it all in this game. Then we got Timeline Challenge. This adds more cards to the Timeline game, but then lets you use all the other Timeline cards in this to do different challenges against people. It's a great way to tie all these little games together. The Race for the Galaxy, Xeno Invasion. This is the best Race for the Galaxy expansion thus far. Very impressed with this one. If you were getting burned out on those, don't. Check this one out. Unusual Suspects. This is a fun game in which you are looking at faces and going, you're trying to like work together as a team and deduct which one is the person who committed something, but you'll say something like, which one of these people never works out? And then turn over cards just based on how they look, judging faces by their covers. And then Outfoxed, which is a cooperative Deduction game for families. Wow, I was really impressed with this one. It taught my kids a lot of good things and was a fun game. And they come and want to play it again. Very happy with that one. So that's, folks, is our weekend review. Let's go on.
Greetings, everyone. This is Dean with Board Game Social, bringing you part 4 in our discussion of insurance and insuring your collection. Today, we're going to take a look at the dreaded backup of sewer and drain loss. What is a backup of sewer and drain? This is when water enters into your home through either a floor drain, a toilet, a sink, a sump pump, anything that's hooked up to a drain line. And almost universally, these type of losses are not covered by your homeowner's policy or your renter's policy. You would need to purchase an additional endorsement that would cover this type of loss. Even if you have that endorsement, you still may not have coverage for your collection. Why is this? Well, because insurance companies offer various endorsements. Some of them offer you $5,000 in coverage for your personal property. Some of them offer you 10. Some of them offer you ones that only cover 6 named items. All right, like a stove, refrigerator, a freezer, a washer, dryer, things like that. So even though you have the endorsement, it still may not cover your collection. So do you have an endorsement? Look into it if you don't. 2, if you do have an endorsement, find out what it actually pays for. You might be surprised, or you might be very dismayed. But either way, know the coverage that you have. Okay, so what are my final thoughts here? 1, you need to review your policy with your agents every so often. And 2, videotape your collection at least once a year so that you have a record of what you actually have, and God forbid, in case you would need it. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch these videos for a very mundane topic. And if you want to see some videos that are a little more lighthearted about gaming and about our collections, then check out my YouTube channel at Board Game Social. Follow me on Twitter or like us on Facebook. The information's below. And until then, I'll see you at the next social event. Take care.
Hi, welcome to this week's 101. This week we're going to be painting skin, so let's get right down to the table and get working on it. Okay, here we have our test subject here. It's a barbarian with plenty of skin, and as you can see, he's just very plain looking, and he's been painted up very plainly, and we're going to bring out the skin. So we just got our first layer on there of flesh, and now I'm going to show you how we do the next step. As you see here, I'm going to use a Reichland flesh shade on him, and I'm going to paint all over him. I want to make sure I get into all the recesses and really move this flesh shade around. And you could see where it's going right into his abdomen and his face structure, and it's starting to give him a good look. Okay, you can see now that I put in all this flesh shade, how much his abdomen shows, his facial structure, his arms and his legs, but we're not done yet. So now that the wash has dried, what we want to do is get the base coat again in a small brush, and all we want to do, and I've already done this, but hit over the high points, such as his abdomen, his rib cage here, his forearm, his bicep, and if you look at his face, we've done his cheeks, his chin, and his nose. By doing this, we've brought out the model exactly the way we want it. So it's a layer coat, a wash, and then back with another coat of the layer, but only over the high points. Hey, and that's it for this week's painting segment. Be sure to join Sam and I for battling brushes every week. And also, for an extended look on how to paint skin, go to my channel, Robert Oren, on YouTube here, and see an extended Painting 101 miniatures. Until next time, I'm Rob Oren. We'll see you soon.
So the new thing is subscription boxes these days. I think the first one that became well known is Loot Crate, and I know that Sam has subscribed to Loot Crate. And if you've never heard of one of these before, these are subscription services where you basically sign up for something and it shows up and you kind of are surprised. It's like a box full of goodies. And so Loot Crate has a bunch of geeky things in it, maybe a t-shirt, maybe a tie, all sorts of interesting things that you probably wouldn't go out and buy on your own, but they put them in a box and it's cool and it's neat. And I'm kind of a mixed feeling about these, but they certainly are growing up there. There's all sorts of things. In fact, I recently subscribed to a sock one that's where you get socks every month. So people like them because you subscribe to something and then you get a surprise gift in the mail. Well, I believe at least 3 or 4 companies are planning to do this with board games. 2 of them approached me at Gen Con, a third one approached me at Essen, at least another one has sent me an email. Now, they may be the same, a couple of them may be the same companies, I'm not sure, but it's going to come out in board gaming. In fact, I believe some of them are already out there. Now, I've not got any of these boxes, but I thought I'd give my thoughts on it because, hey, why not? And the idea of the Loot Crate or these subscription boxes is you're going to get something on a monthly, maybe a bi-monthly basis where you'll get it in the mail and what do you get? You know, different things. And so for these to work for board gaming, there would have to be a board game in it each time. And I think some of them will have maybe expansions for existing board games or promo cards, or they might have something like, hey, this is a game about fruit, and so you got some fruit this month with it, or you got, you know, this tie that has fruit on it, or something to like enhance the theming of the game. And while I understand the idea of getting something every month, like I said, I think these are great. I'm considering signing my kids up for a couple of these for Christmas, just different things. But you know, I haven't done that with my kids yet, and I'll tell you why I haven't. Something's been holding me off, and that's because I don't know that I want to have this stream of physical stuff coming in that kind of just promotes this whole just get a bunch of cool garbage, and it doesn't matter if it's geeky. If it's geeky, it's great, or whatever my kids might like. I have a stream of board games that comes in my house. I mean, I stream, but they don't stay in my house, and I don't ever want my kids to think that I'm collecting things just to collect them. Well, okay, maybe my dice. But even then, I can justify that and say I'll use those dice in games and things like that. And I don't want to just get stuff to get stuff. When we go to the store, I'm trying to teach my kids, don't buy something just because you have money burning a hole in your pocket. You don't have to get something. Only get something if you really want it. Well, that's kind of the opposite of what these crates are. They come and they're just, you didn't want it. Maybe you'll be like, oh, that's cool, I'm glad I got that. But how much of that stuff would you have actually paid for on your own? So I think when we apply that to board games, that's where we're going to see problems. Because the board games in these things are not going to be Pandemic Legacy, Splendor, you know, the Fantasy Flight X-Wing miniatures. You know, they're not going to be these really hot games unless some companies get, you know, sneaky with them and send out, like Fantasy Flight, maybe the starter set to some of their LCGs, you know, just to kind of hook more people into that. But I think what you're rather going to see in these are not even second-tier games, but third-tier games. If you ever go to a convention and a company there has given out games to everybody, like, oh, look, you know, they gave us 300 copies of this game. Rio Grande used to do that often at Origins. So Cabs would give out many of these games. Those games weren't that good. There's a reason they were being handed out there. The hot games aren't. And I really suspect the same thing's going to be here. But even if the games were, quote-unquote, good games, I don't know that I would want a random game coming to my house. Now, well, I do get random games in my house all the time, but that's because I'm a game reviewer. I don't know that I would want that if I was only buying a certain number of games a year. And you shouldn't buy every game that comes out. That's not the goal of us at the Dice Tower. Our goal of us at the Dice Tower is to tell you about games so that you can pick which one is for you. So you should do some research and do that. Buying a random game, is that the right thing to do? Because you're going to get one every month, woohoo, but couldn't you take that same amount of money, set it aside, and buy maybe a game every other month, but one that's really good and one that you really like? That's what I think you should do. Now, I'm not saying these subscription services are bad. Again, I don't have any first-hand knowledge. I went and read a review on one of them, and I thought, I don't know that I would have wanted to get that box, but maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'll get some of these boxes in the future and talk about them after I've got them. These are my thoughts going in, but I wonder if these things will take off. I think the subscription service thing is a great idea. Like I said, if they did one for hats, I'd be all over it, because I would love to get cool new hats in. So maybe I'm being hypocritical because the hat thing doesn't bother me, but the game does. I wonder what you guys would think about this. Would you care if you get a random game? Or would you want a game that you think would be tailored to your needs? If anyone here has actually got any of them, I'd like to hear about that. Were you happy and satisfied with the game that came in then? Would you subscribe to something like this? How much money would you be willing to pay per month for it? there's a lot of interesting factors here. We'll have to see where it goes. Maybe this will be a big thing by next year. I don't think it will be, at least in board gaming, but you never know.
Hi there and welcome. This is Niels from Cyril's Brettspiele durchgespielt. And today, again, the best and the worst mechanism. And today we are talking about Power Grid. Yeah, that's Power Grid. My favorite mechanism for Power Grid is by far, and I would say it's the best catch-up mechanism in the whole board game industry, is, let's say the last player is green, like here right now. Green is building first, green is buying out the resources first for cheap money, so green will definitely jump back into the game and next round has the potential of getting better and better. So the best mechanism ever in board gaming, the best catch-up mechanism is built in Power Grid for me. And the worst mechanism is a little bit included in the same system. Let's say in this case red would be the player who is buying last, and let's say all the other players buying out all these resources here. So then red has not enough resources to power his engines, to power his power grids. So he cannot win the game because he cannot power all the cities. That means the game could last 2 more rounds sometimes just to fulfill the red player's last And again, now it's time for you to leave a comment or say your best and worst mechanism for Power Grid. Leave it in the comments, email, blah blah. You know all of that. This was my personal best and worst mechanism for Power Grid. See you next time. Cyril's Brettspiele. My name is Niels. Bye bye.
Hey, it's the captain here. Welcome back to Carry On. Today I'm going to show you my game room. So as you can see here, I've got the bigger shelves. They're great for holding the games. A little bit of storage space in the bottom. Great for little card games, as well as I can sit here and paint minis. And then the most important thing, of course, is the table, which is nice because it's partially a dining room table, but also can convert. Check it out. Alright, here we are again with the leaflets out. So you can see the game inside of it. This is great for dice, that way things don't fall off the table. The nice thing about having a square table, I think, is that no matter where you sit, you're about the same reach from anything. And oftentimes when I play games, in truth, it's usually 2 to 4 players, so it works really well for us. Another great thing about having a great gaming table like this one is you can have some extra storage here, as well as some place to put your drinks. So tables like these do cost a premium, but you get what you pay for. In this case, the folks that made this at Game On Tables did a fabulous job. It's a handmade hardwood, and this will certainly be an heirloom, I hope. So anyways, I hope that gave you some good ideas. If you want more information, check them out on Game On Tables, Twitter, or online. If you have questions for me, find me on Twitter at Captain Carry On or on Board Game Geek. Till next time, carry on.
Oh. Hello, Internet. I didn't hear you come in. You know, here at Snakes and Lattes, we play upbeat, happy music in the cafe because we feel that it enhances the cafe experience. Now, unfortunately, because we have so many different games being played simultaneously, we can't really tailor the music that we play to any particular game. But that is a luxury that you definitely have at home. Now, whatever game you're playing, the right music will help players get into the mood. Now, not everybody has a gigantic CD collection full of movie soundtracks to draw from, but there are lots of options out there, free, legal options that don't involve the word torrent in them at all. For our videos, we use Kevin MacLeod's Creative Commons music at Incompetech.com. Over at the Snakes Cast, they use Ben Sound to do the background music for our podcast. There are lots of other online open license sources of music that you can use to spice up the background. Some people are do-it-themselves kind of people. So for you, there's the freesoundproject.org. This website has literally bajillions of different sound clips, different guitar riffs, drum riffs, sound effects that you can mix and match. You can play them live on the site, or you can download them and edit them yourselves in a piece of software like Audacity. TabletopAudio.com is another source of great thematic background music. They have all sorts of 10-minute tracks for all kinds of different genres. And of course, YouTube has lots of options for you as well. Just go to YouTube and search Epic Music Playlist, and you will get hours and hours of music to spice up and enhance the background of your gaming experience. If you've got a smartphone or a tablet, there are plenty of music apps that you can use. There's Songza, Spotify, 8Tracks, just to name a few. That's all the time we have for this discussion on Board Game Breakfast. But if you want more in-depth look at how to use music in your gaming, we have a full-length video that you can watch by going to our YouTube channel. Linky link appearing below.
And that's it for this week, folks. And thanks so much for all my contributors. Again, you notice we have the new segment for game rooms. So if you have a game room that you would like to show off, let me know. You can send me in a minute clip of it or so, or maybe a little bit more than a minute, and show off your game room, and we'll stick that in the show somehow at one of these times. Folks, I really appreciate all of you watching our show. I really appreciate just all of you over the course of the year. It's been a really good year for us at Dice Tower, and that's because you guys watch us. Thanks again for watching Board Game Breakfast. If you missed Board Game Blender from last week, it was a really impressive episode. Board Game Blender is just like Board Game Breakfast, except Z Garcia runs it, and therefore it's probably better run than this show. Speaking of better run, we need to end this show. I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.